Nosotros en este video vamos a ver las diferencias y cuándo se lo utiliza. So please pay attention.
Hey, I'm Emma from English. Welcome to a fascinating, interesting grammar lesson. Another one in our series about conditional sentences. If you're learning English, you will definitely find this lesson helpful. This type of grammar lesson might sound serious, but learning to use conditionals effectively is going to help you to express yourself clearly and be really creative with English. Conditionals are really common. Native speakers use them all the time. So if you start paying attention, you are definitely going to notice this sentence structure as you're reading, and even as you're listening too, you'll hear it more. In this video, we're going to focus on the zero conditional and the first conditional. And we'll talk about how they're different, but importantly, when you should use one or the other, because that's a little confusing. If you enjoy my lessons, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you like this lesson in particular, give it a like and share it with your friends. It all helps me to create more and interesting content for you. So let's get into this lesson. So I'm going to assume that you know most of the basics about conditional sentences. If you study grammar, it gets easier. If you practice every day, you will improve. If I lived in an English-speaking country, I would be fluent. If I had known how useful English was for my career, I would have paid more attention to it at school. So each of these sentences has an if clause and a main clause, but there are some differences between them, especially with verb tenses and time references. And all of this changes the meaning. One of them is a fact. Another is about the present, but it's an unreal present. Another is about an imaginary past. Today, we're going to focus on these two, the zero and the first conditional. The zero conditional is also called the factual or the real conditional because we use it to talk about truth and facts, things that are real in the world. We also use it to talk about habits and rules and to give instructions that are the result of something else happening first. So in other words, if this happens, then this is the result. Always, okay? It's a fact. It's the truth. It's just how it is. It's what happens. Let's take a closer look at what it looks like because it's really simple. We use the present simple in both clauses. Now, why does it say if or when can be used in the if clause? It's a good question. In the zero conditional, you can use either if or when in the if clause. And the meaning with either word is pretty similar, but we use if when there is a chance that the action will happen, but it might not happen as well, okay? If it does happen, then we know exactly what the result will be. If I work out, I feel healthier. So I work out, and the result is pretty obvious. When I do work out, I feel healthier. I feel better about myself. It's true. But that doesn't mean that I do it all the time, right? I don't always feel healthy, especially if I don't work out. We use when we know for sure that that action is going to happen. We might not know exactly when it's going to happen, but we know that it will, okay? When I work out, I feel healthier. So I've removed the possibility that it's not going to happen. There's no question about it. I will work out. The specific time doesn't matter. We just know that it's going to happen in the future. So it's a subtle difference, very, very subtle. And the same difference actually applies in the first conditional. We can use if or when as well in the first conditional, but we'll get to that. Back to forming the zero conditional, let's look at a few examples to help us do that. When the sun sets, it gets dark. If you leave milk out, it spoils. If the power goes out, we can't watch TV. So these are all facts and truths, right? Now, what about this sentence? In winter, it's cold. Is it a zero conditional sentence? It's a fact. It has the present simple verb, but it's not a conditional sentence. Can you tell me why? We don't have two clauses. It is a fact, but we don't have the condition and the result clause. It's just a present simple sentence. But what about now? If it's cold, light the fire. Now we've got a condition and the result. And this is a good example of how the zero conditional can be used to give instructions. And I'm using the imperative form to do that. I'm telling you what to do, instructing you. We also use the zero conditional to talk about rules. Children can swim if an adult is with them. And we use it to talk about habits. If it's hot, I go to the beach. This is something that I usually do. It's a habit, right? It happens often. Can you see how in all of these examples that the two separate parts of the sentence are connected? We're stating a fact or a truth in the main clause, but it's only possible on the condition that the if clause occurs. So now we know that the zero conditional is the factual or the real conditional. What about the first conditional? It's also called the possible conditional. Now, we're not talking about facts anymore, okay? Things that are absolutely 100% true. Now we're talking about possible future results. They might happen, but they might not happen as well. So can you guess when it might be useful to use the first conditional? A time when you're thinking about what's possible in the future. We can use it to talk about predictions, superstitions, plans, promises, offers, suggestions, and warnings. Like, there's a lot of different ways that we can use the first conditional, right? So all of these things talk about what is likely to happen in the future, a likely outcome. So in the first conditional, we're not just using the present simple anymore, right? Because we're talking about the future. In the if clause, we still use a present simple verb, but in the main clause, we use the future tense, will. If this thing happens, then this will likely happen. It will probably happen. We can't be absolutely sure. I think so. If you don't eat now, you'll be hungry later. If she doesn't call, I'll be annoyed. And just like in the zero conditional, we can still use if or when in the if clause. And it depends on how sure we are that something is going to happen. And when tells us that we're very, very confident that the action in the if clause is going to happen. And the result in the main clause is the most likely outcome. When the sun sets, it will get cold. Now, what about this sentence? If aliens arrive on Earth, I will greet them. Now, I'll give you a clue. There is something not quite right about this sentence. Something about it sounds strange, but it has a present simple verb and will with the base verb following, so it looks right. But this isn't a possible situation. Well, not really. I could be unintentionally starting a debate about the existence of alien life right here, but this is more of a hypothetical situation, right? So it would be better to use the second conditional to talk about this hypothetical situation. So we talked about the zero conditional, we've talked about the first conditional, but what's the difference between them? And why would you choose one over the other? Let's take a look. If you leave the milk out, it spoils. If you leave the milk out, it will spoil. Which one's correct? It's a trick question. They're both correct. They're both possible. But choosing to use the zero or the first conditional does change the meaning of the sentence a little. So in the first sentence, we're stating a general fact. It's true, right? In general, in life, at any moment, when you leave milk out of the fridge, it spoils. So I might use the zero conditional to explain to a child that milk spoils when it's not in the fridge, right? The child didn't know that fact beforehand. I'm telling them so that they know in the future. When I use the first conditional sentence, I'm telling you about a possible outcome based on the current situation. So it's like advice or warning about a present situation, something that is specific. So imagine that you've just made a coffee, you left the milk on the bench, and then you've gone off to the living room to watch some telly. So I'm using the first conditional now to warn you or remind you about what might happen if you don't put the milk in the fridge. So I'm not telling you a general life lesson or a fact about life. You probably already know that milk spoils, but I'm giving you a suggestion or a reminder that you should put it in the fridge. Now let's look at a few more comparisons. When the sun sets, it gets cold. Compare it to when the sun sets, it will get cold. So I'm using the zero conditional again to talk about a general fact, all right? All around the world, in general, it gets colder when the sun sets. But if you're about to leave the house and you're wearing just a t-shirt, and I might be a little bit worried that you're going to get cold, then I might use the first conditional sentence to remind you that, in a few hours when the sun sets, it's probably going to get cold and maybe you should bring a jacket. Let's try one more. If she doesn't call, I'm annoyed. If she doesn't call, I'll be annoyed. So in the first situation, the zero conditional is used because it's something that happens a lot, right? She often doesn't call, and every time I'm annoyed. Every time she doesn't call, I'm annoyed. It's a really general statement about how I feel on many occasions. In the first conditional example, though, I'm talking about a specific phone call. Maybe I'm waiting for a colleague to call. I'm waiting for some information that I need to finish writing my report by the deadline, and she promised to call me this afternoon. So I'm not talking about her general calling habits. I don't always get annoyed with her, but I am talking about right now in this moment. I'm worried that my colleague's not going to call, and I'm just expressing that it's really annoying because I'm trying to finish my report. Okay, I hope that you're feeling a bit more confident about using the zero and first conditional now, because it's time to practice. So what I'm going to do is I'll give you a situation, and you're going to have to write either a zero conditional sentence or a first conditional.
You have the grammar and conditionals. The first zero conditional, use the zero conditional to talk about simple facts. Aquí entonces vamos a encontrar, chicos, en la parte que estábamos viendo en el video, el condicional cero. Y pues como nos decía ahí, vamos a usar este condicional para hablar de hechos, ¿sí? De hechos que son ahí en ese momento, que son realidad. Y aquí tiene la fórmula. If simple present plus simple present. Da un resultado igual, que es subject plus simple perfect. If simple present. Eso también es otra característica de este condicional cero, que ambas oraciones, sí, tanto la primera como la segunda, están en presente simple. Sí. A ver, vamos a ir participando. Enciendan las cámaras. Enciendan las cámaras, por favor. Señor Hugo Aguilar.
Use the first conditional to talk about possibilities. This thing could happen in the present or in the future.
¿Ya? Usamos el primer condicional para hablar de posibilidades. Esas cosas podrían pasar en el presente o en el futuro. ¿Sí? Entonces, a eso se refiere el primer condicional. Cosas que pueden pasar, que serían una posibilidad. For example, Jennifer Hinojosa, please read the first example.
If your boss likes you, he will let you take 2 weeks off. Your boss will let you take 2 weeks off if he likes you. Tío lindo.
Muy bien. Entonces, aquí tenemos...
If Evelyn,
Hasta ahí nomás, por favor. Entonces, aquí tenemos este primer ejemplo. If your boss likes you, he will let you take off 2 weeks off. Si a tu jefe le agradas, ¿no? Porque, bueno, aquí tenemos, aquí like es agradar y gustar. En cambio, aquí sí tenemos una diferencia entre gustar y agradar, ¿no? Entonces, si le agradas a tu jefe, él te dejará tomarte 2 semanas fuera. Te podría o te dejaría tomar 2 semanas fuera, o sea, de vacaciones, ¿no? 2 semanas de vacaciones. Es una posibilidad. Now, Mateo Rivera, please read the second example.
If Evelyn is free tomorrow, she will go shopping with her sister. Evelyn will go shopping with her sister if she is free tomorrow.
Muy bien, eso. If se lee, no I, sino if. Si Evelyn está libre mañana, ella irá de compras con su hermana. Entonces es una posibilidad. Le está condicionando a si Evelyn tiene el día libre mañana. Vamos entonces a ver, chicos. También dice aquí, letter C, different forms. Está en la parte inferior de la página 78. Letter C. Aro Carla, please read the command.
We can also use other modal or the imperfect to express different meanings.
Muy bien. Nosotros también podríamos usar otros modales o el imperativo para expresar diferentes significados. Aquí tenemos entonces armadas 5 oraciones para expresar el uso en cada una de ellas, ¿no es cierto? Por ejemplo, si quiero expresar posibilidad, obligación, advertencia, permiso y ordenar algo, ¿no? Una orden, ¿sí? O dar una orden. Renata Andino, please read the first sentence.
If I give my job, my make I happen is possibility.
Ya, esto es para una posibilidad, ¿no es cierto? I keep my job. If I keep my job, si mantengo mi trabajo, I might make it happen. Podría hacer que suceda. Mateo Burgos, please read the second sentence. Mateo, do you listen to me?
Sí, listen, perdón, se me colgó.
Ok, lee la segunda oración, por favor.
If the weather nice people to park.
¿Dónde estás? Si puedes ver la pantalla, estamos aquí en la segunda oración.
Mil disculpas, dicen. If you use the kitchen, you must to do the dishes.
Muy bien. You must to do the dishes. Muy bien. Expresa una obligación, ¿no es cierto? Si tú usas la cocina, tú debes lavar los platos. Entonces está expresando una obligación. Ahora, Daniel Cedeño, please, the number 3.
If she takes play, she should ask for wins seat advice.
Advice, ¿no es cierto? O sea, es una sugerencia, ¿sí? Un advice, es un aviso. Si ella toma el avión, ella podría pedir el asiento de la ventana. Podría, ¿no es cierto? La posibilidad. Number 4, Paula Ampudia, please.
If you have a driver license, you can my drive permit.
¿Sí? Nos expresa permiso, ¿sí? Si tú obtienes la licencia de conducir, tú podrás manejar. Tú puedes manejar, o tú podrías manejar. Igual las dos expresan permiso. And finally, Hugo Aguilar. Read, please, the last one.
If he came to call back later.
¿Ya?
Orden.
Nos expresa una orden. Aquí está utilizando el imperativo, como nos decía aquí, ¿no? If someone calls, tell them to call back later, ¿no es cierto? Si alguien te llama, diles que me llamen tarde. Es una orden. Diles, tell them. Diles que me llamen más tarde. Now, the grammar practice, please. Open your books in the page 79. You have the grammar practice and some exercise about the zero and first conditional. Letter A. Fill in the blanks, write the correct form of each verb in the blank. Tenemos entonces, escriba la forma correcta del verbo en el espacio en blanco. Sí, dime.
Listen, yo ya tengo la 1 resuelta.
Profe,
A ver. Mr. Alarcón, the first sentence, please, with the correct answer.
Bien. If you save your money, you will be rich someday.
Muy bien. If you save your money, you will be rich someday. Excelente. Ya le pongo la participación. So, the number 2, if the weather, dice verbo to be, in present, ¿no es cierto? La primera oración siempre en presente. ¿Cuál es el presente del verbo to be? If the weather
is.
Muy bien.
Is.
If the weather is nice, people
Go.
Go to.
Muy bien, people go to the park. Entonces, un condicional 0, las dos están en presente. Number 3, if there
Is.
too much traffic, muy bien. If there is too much traffic, drivers
Will
Get.
get.
get. Está en presente, pero sí está muy bien también la posibilidad de will get, ¿sí? Se enojarán, eso da futuro. Muy bien, es una posibilidad. También existe esa oración, está también súper bien. Number 4, if Brian,
Spends.
Spent.
eso, spends, termina en S, ¿no es cierto? Porque es, ¿qué es? Porque está
Tercera persona del singular.
excelente. If Brian spends the day at Disney World, he
Has.
Will have.
también son las dos opciones correctas. Will have. What is the meaning for spend? What is the meaning for spend?
Spend, gastar.
Gastar, ¿no es cierto? Pero cuando yo digo I spend time with my family, ¿cómo le traduzco eso? I spend time with my family. Porque literal, spend es gastar, ¿no es cierto? Entonces, si yo digo I spend time with my family, significa yo
Pasar el rato.
paso, eso, yo
Yo
paso,
paso con mi familia.
exactamente, yo paso tiempo o paso con mi familia. Entonces, aquí no dice si Brian gasta el día, sino, ¿cómo sería aquí traducido? Sí, Brian,
El
Pasa- si
Brian pasa el día en el mundo de Disney.
muy bien. Si Brian pasa el día en Disney World, él tendrá mucha diversión. Así se traduce esta oración, ¿ya? Vamos ahora con la número 5. My teacher.
Gets.
Muy bien, get.
Get.
Upset if the students.
Make.
Make.
¿No es cierto? Yeah. Number 6. If it.
If
Rain
it
or rains.
Rain.
rain.
Rains porque está it. Es tercera persona del singular. If it rains tomorrow, Jerry and his friends will not attend the outdoor concert. Number 7. If my daughter
Eats.
eat or
Eat.
eats.
Eats.
It's.
If my daughter eats, porque está también tercera persona, esa es mi hija, ¿no? Es de ella, entonces, tercera persona. If my daughter eats spicy food, her stomach.
Hurt.
Muy bien, hurts. Hurts, sí, porque es un hecho, ¿no? Si mi hija come, dice, comida muy condimentada, su estómago le duele. Es un hecho. Now, number 8. Dogs.
Barks.
Barks.
Barks o solo bark?
Barks. 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 Barks.
¿Qué barks?
Barks.
Sí, dice los perros y está hablando,
Bark.
solo es bark, porque está hablando como de ellos, ¿no es cierto? They.
Plural.
Dogs bark loudly if they.
Sí.
Muy bien, sí.
Sí.
Muy bien. Sí, es una
Sí.
condicional cero, es una condicional cero. Están las dos en presente. Si los perros, ¿cómo es? Los perros ladran muy alto si ellos ven a un gato. Vamos ahora sí con the letter B. Match the condition with the appropriate result. Tenemos entonces aquí las condicionales y debemos poner el literal aquí en este espacio en blanco, el literal que corresponda. Por ejemplo, hagamos el primero. If Lori goes to bed after 11, si Laura va a la cama después de las 11,
The
letter D, ¿no es cierto? She's tired the next day. Ella está cansada al siguiente día. Y así pues vamos a ir relacionando las demás oraciones, chicos. Continúen. Letter B, match the condition with the appropriate results. So, the first one we resolve. Now, Jennifer Hinojosa, please, the number 2. If I get sick again.
¿Le leo o solo le digo la respuesta, Liz?
A ver, la respuesta nomás. Para hacerle rapidito.
I may need to see a doctor.
Letter.
F.
A ver, letter F. Muy bien. If I get sick again, I may need to see a doctor. Number 3. Dylan.
If Ben doesn't have to work tomorrow, he should come to the beach with us.
Letter H. Muy bien. Letter H. John Jairo Goyes, number 4.
If Maggie and her boyfriend sit in the front, they will hear the music better.
Letter G. Muy bien. They will hear the music better. Muy bien, John Jairo. Now, any volunteer for the number 5?
H.
A ver, Renata Andino, lea por favor entonces.
If your dad comes home before 6 o'clock, he should come to the beach with us.
Letter A. No. If your dad comes home before 6 o'clock, ask him to give Uncle Bob a call. ¿Sí? Esa es la respuesta correcta. Number 6. If the room's temperature is too low.
B. I can sleep.
Letter B. I can't sleep. Excelente. Number 7. If the bus is late.
E.
Sí.
Muy bien. Letter E. We might have to take a taxi. And finally, number 8. If Bill works to school.
Sí.
Get some exercise. Muy bien, chicos. Eso sería la resolución de la parte B del ejercicio. La última parte van a hacer ustedes